In 2018, the Jacksonville Jaguars are projected by many to be one of the leading teams in the AFC and even a possible Super Bowl team. But instead, they went from a potential Super Bowl team to one of the worst in the league with a disappointing 5-11 record. But how could a Super Bowl caliber team from the year before fall to one of the worst in only one season? The previous year, the Jaguars went 10-6 and made it all the way to the AFC Championship game, where the Patriots made a comeback in the fourth quarter to knock them out. The team had arguably one of the best defenses the NFL has ever seen, with the second best defense and second most sacks in the NFL, earning them the name Sacksonville. On offense, their quarterback was Blake Bortles, not the quarterback people envisioned taking a team to the Super Bowl, which he almost did. He actually had a decent year, throwing for 3,687 yards, having 23 total touchdowns and 11 interceptions, lowering his turnover rate. However, their running game was the fuel of the offense, with their newly drafted running back Leonard Fournette rushing for over 1,000 yards in only 13 games. They also had two other effective running backs with around 300 yards each. However, they lost some big pieces in the offseason, with wide receiver Allen Robinson signing with the Bears, Allen Hurns signing with the Cowboys, and wide receiver Marquise Lee, who suffered a season-ending injury in the 2018 preseason. The question everyone had is how the Jaguars regressed from a Super Bowl caliber team who made the AFC Championship game the year before to a bottom team in the league. Despite their big losses on their receiving core, the Jaguars won their first two games against the Giants and the mighty Patriots. Then they lost against the Titans the following week, and then following it up with a win over the Jets. However, their promising 3-1 start was their only success, as they fell into a 7-game losing streak, dropping to 4-8. Their season was lost, and they were eliminated in Week 13 with a loss over the Tennessee Titans. They then benched quarterback Blake Bortles due to him being ineffective, and put in Cody Kessler to see if they would win, but they didn't, and they finished last in the division, disappointing all the fans around the league who thought they would make it to the promised land. The question everyone had is how the Jaguars regressed from a Super Bowl caliber team who made the AFC Championship game the year before to a bottom team in the league. Quarterback is the most common reason people point to, and I agree. However, it is not the only thing and is far from the sole reason why they didn't make the playoffs. Blake Bortles played notably worse than the previous season, throwing only 13 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. That's 8 less touchdowns and only 2 less interceptions and only 2,700 yards in 13 games. The turnovers were the big issue for Blake Bortles, whether it was interceptions or fumbling when running with the ball. He fumbled the ball 8 times, and along with 11 interceptions, it did not help the Jaguars score, and putting the defense on the field too long is not a recipe for success. Blake Bortles didn't have much help, which is highly overlooked, and another reason. Blake Bortles really didn't have many good receivers to throw the ball to. The year before, the Jaguars were ranked 17th overall in passing, but in 2018, they were 26th overall. The Jaguars had worse wide receivers in 2018, with their best being Dede Westbrook and Dante Moncrief. Keenan Cole was their third best receiver, only getting a little bit under 500 yards, and their leading receiver, Dede Westbrook, had 717 yards. Although the lack of yards can be attributed to Blake Bortles' throwing, good wide receivers and an effective offensive line would have helped him. Offensive line, probably the most overlooked position in the NFL and reason of the Jaguars' failure. It was strong the year before, being the 4th ranked offensive line in the NFL. However, in 2018, they let up 53 sacks, tied for the 3rd most in the NFL, and were 30th ranked as an offensive line unit. These offensive line struggles can be attributed to worse passing game and run game. The offensive line was also riddled with injuries throughout the season, especially when Leonard Fournette came back healthy. It was so bad that then they signed Eric Flowers. Yeah, that's how bad their offensive line was hurt. The last reason, in my opinion, the Jaguars did not have success was because of Leonard Fournette being injured for half of the season. Coming back in Week 8, that was when the Jaguars had their main offensive linemen being put on injured reserve, like Andrew Norwell, Cam Robinson, and Brandon Linder. So when Fournette came back, he was simply ineffective because he didn't have any help running the ball, only getting around 400 yards rushing. And Fournette's backups, Carlos Hyde and TJ Yeldon, were not game changers like Fournette. The running game was a major part for Jacksonville's success in 2017, and because it dipped in 2018, it's no surprise why the offense was a lot worse. It also doesn't help with the constant locker room issues and fights going on with the team, and their head coach Doug Marrone not disciplining the players. The Jaguars had a disappointing season following their improbable AFC Championship game run because of the inconsistency at quarterback, lack of good wideouts, poor offensive line play, and injuries. Leonard Fournette's absence and inefficiency paired with the drama within the organization also played a key role. It's fascinating how a team fell from serious contenders to a bottom team in the league the next season. You gotta feel bad for Jags fans because of how special that 2017 team was, only for the Jaguars to have losing records in their next 4 seasons. The Jaguars have always been forgotten and labeled as one of the worst franchises in the NFL. However, with all the sucking following that 2017 season, it led them to quarterback Trevor Lawrence, who looks to be the franchise, another number 1 overall pick in Trayvon Walker, and a Super Bowl winning head coach in Doug Peterson. The future looks bright as the Jaguars made a 27-0 comeback versus the Chargers and were 7 points away from beating the Chiefs on the road in the divisional game this season. Looking back on it, it is astonishing how Blake Bortles took the Jaguars from the wildcard game all the way to the AFC Championship game and was 1 drive away from beating Tom Brady in New England and going to the Super Bowl.
Don't stop, make the whole ceiling drop. Whoa, it only matters if it knocks, make you move out your socks. Now you move to the top thing outside the box. Now I'm inside your thoughts.